Guys, welcome back to Rise and Grind. We are ready to get it. Happy Monday. Megan, how was your weekend?
It was good. It was really good. My cousin's visiting from Australia, so we did all of the US things. It was a great time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You guys went to the city and stuff, right?
Yeah, we went to the city, saw all the. It actually wasn't as crowded as we thought it was going to be, and it was a lot cleaner than we thought
Really?
it was going to be, which is really nice. I was kind of nervous because she was visiting for the first time in years, and visiting for New York for the first time in years, and she heard that it was a little crazy there, but
Right.
it was nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really
That's
nice.
awesome. And so we are literally just one day away from election.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wild. Right now, a lot of businesses, a lot of people are just gearing up, preparing for what's to come. And from everything I keep seeing all over the news, right now, apparently it's like a super, super tight race. So I guess we shall see what happens. But let's dive in. Let's dive in with our first topic here.
All right. Well, right now, Google is adjusting the search algorithm again. This always happens. But right now, they're adjusting the search algorithm to make sure that the content on your website isn't that much different from the overall theme of your website. So what that means for you, a lot of advertisers will put together a subdomain when they're marketing. So instead of going to your regular domain, it'll go to a landing page, right? That's connected to something different. If that content is so much different from the content on your website, Google's actually not going to rank the subdomains. They're going to continue to be separated. So it doesn't really help your brand authority when you do something like that. And the algorithm is going to essentially push your content down the search rankings because of that.
And Google, listen, Google's tough. We all know Google's tough with this stuff, with the algorithms. So that makes total sense.
Yeah.
And what they're going to search and show on display. So it makes total sense.
Right. So what you should do instead is, if you are marketing and you need a landing page, keep it under the same domain and keep the content as relevant as you can to the rest of the content on your website. Keep the tonality the same, the layout the same, the headers and footers the same. That way Google sees consistency across the board.
That's the key. That almighty Google.
Yep.
That almighty Google.
Yeah.
I'll let you keep rolling.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm on a Google train today, and this is something that we experienced a few months back, where we noticed that on Google Ads, the platform itself was making essentially auto optimizations based on what the platform believed the campaign could benefit from. So on one hand, for a business owner who maybe doesn't know the Google Ad platform but has campaigns running, this is beneficial because, let's be honest, Google Ads is like a beast in its own, right? To try to figure out exactly what optimizations you need to make. There's so many different features within the platform. So the auto adjustments could be good, but for advertisers, sometimes it makes optimizations that we wouldn't recommend for a campaign because it doesn't have the knowledge of all the other nuances of, maybe not just on the Google Ad platform, but like what retargeting ads are circulating as well, and what does the entire funnel look like. And when you look at that entire scope, some of the optimizations may not make sense. So what recently happened is different businesses found that not just the platform were making those auto optimizations, but Google reps were making unauthorized changes.
Google, what are you doing? Google.
Seriously. It's like,
damn.
The platform to do it is one thing because it's AI regulated, right? But for Google reps to make unauthorized changes, and then Google came out and said, yeah, like normally there's a strict approval process if a person's making a change to your account, but they didn't go that route. And so there were some businesses who had a ton of optimizations made. They had no idea about them. Google was making them for them, and their campaigns were hurting in the process of that. So
and agencies are getting punched in the face by the clients. Like, what is happening here?
Yeah, what
Meanwhile, Google's doing this, right? Absolutely bananas. But again, typical stuff happening at Google. And we have somebody that we're working with, and they were, an executive at Google, and they said, like, even them, like, being an executive Google, like, nobody's allowed to talk to or like communicate with or get answers about search and algorithm. Like, that team is like, SEAL Team 6. Like nobody, like nobody knows, like
Right.
nobody can talk about it. Like it's such a weird, it's crazy, but typical Google.
Yeah.
Typical Google.
Yeah, and the thing is too, a lot of those reps, sometimes they are marketers, but most of the time they're Google sales reps for the platform. So they'll make changes based on what I heard recently is that a lot of the times their compensation is made by how many optimizations are done on the platform. So
So
those
they're like just out
unauthorized
there,
changes could be
boom, boom,
because of
boom.
that. So if you
Yeah.
have a Google ad account that you're running on your own, you might want to check the change history and
Yeah.
just be sure that there's not auto optimizations being made, or you don't see some random person's name popping up making changes on your account too, because
Yeah.
that would be bad.
We don't want that.
Yeah, the more control you have over your Google ad account, the better. You don't want it to run just automatically through the AI features.
Facts.
Yeah.
One thing I just want to share though, shifting gears, again, keep in mind, like I said, when we started this, tomorrow we find out election stuff. We're probably not going to find out tomorrow, but
Yeah.
we'll have some sort of idea.
On
I
Wednesday,
think
maybe.
on Wednesday, maybe. We don't know what's going to happen. But again, do not be in the position where you're like, what's going to happen? What does that mean for my business? Like, you have to be prepared and ready to rock, right? Even though it's not like you have like plenty of time, but the bigger picture is that 2025 is literally around the corner. And preparing, again, knowing the fact that the new experience that people want on social media is tailored experiences. They don't want salesy, generic content that's sent to them.
No.
It's about fun. It's about, entertaining, right? That's what it's about. And that's the tough part. Some businesses that are in the camp of like, well, I'm serious, I'm a doctor, or I'm an attorney, or I'm this and that. Like, I don't want to be funny, or I don't want to be whatever. That actually winds up hurting you so much more due to the pure fact that, like, at the end of the day, people are not on social media to be sold anything. People are on social media because they want to see their family, their friends, fun, this, that, entertainment, health. That's what it's about, right? So you have to build content to fit your target A client's profile, what entertains them and makes them want to stay, versus the other way around.
Right.
So the key here is you have to make sure the content you're building is very strategically tailored to the customer you want or the client you want to serve. And again, bearing in mind that, again, some people, if you're, an attorney or a doctor, or you work in tech, and your target A customer or client is somebody who is well read and they want to have data and facts and like good information type of content, then you got to deliver that in a personalized way that makes it more engaging, right? And this is a perfect example of us doing this right now. Like, we're live instead of putting up a post about these different trends or topics that just say, the words in a picture of it. We're doing it through this medium because we're trying to be, building more entertainment, making it more interactive. And that's the key, right? So like, that's the key. That's what your strategy has to be moving forward. How can you be strategic? How can you make sure that the content is super tailored to your client?
Yeah. Essentially, like, are you speaking their language?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And if you're not, you need to change the language that you're using to speak.
Exactly.
To them. Yeah. It's so important. I think we said this last week. I can't remember, but I do tell this to the team all the time. Like, your 60-year-old male is going to speak completely different than your 23-year-old female, right? They use different language. Gen Z slang is a whole nother language in itself.
Whole other language. Whole other
but
language.
I've seen some really great content. I actually recently saw this hotel who it's a hotel in England, and the owner is someone who is a senior citizen, and she put together this video using Gen Z language explaining the hotel and walking around.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And it's so good. It's funny because you wouldn't think that the terms she's using would come out of her mouth, honestly. But it was incredibly relevant. It spoke to the right audience who's traveling and could potentially go there. And it was definitely outside of our comfort zone, but the video went viral because of it. So even if it feels like it's not you, but it speaks to your audience, you should still try to find a way to incorporate that language.
Yeah. And even when I look at Martha Stewart has a documentary on Netflix right now. And it's actually a really interesting documentary.
I saw that just pop up on Netflix.
Yeah.
Actually. Yeah.
I just watched it last night. But speaking of that, so when she went through her, peaks and valleys of all the stuff that she went through, there was one point where she became irrelevant after she got out of jail, and she wasn't really doing as much. And then a couple of years later, she got invited to be on the roast of Justin Bieber. And that's based on what you're saying with this hotel. Nobody expected her at the time. She was older. Everybody on stage was like some sort of comedian or relevant actor or whatever. And then she was like somebody who people haven't heard of in a while.
Right.
And she came on and she ripped everybody. Like she just
Yeah.
ripped everybody, but she was doing it like super like trendy and like young. And you can tell the stuff she was saying was from her writers or whoever she
Yeah.
hired her. But it was funny because she kind of like she shifted to fit that, right?
Yeah.
So bottom line, that was really interesting. I think going back to the point here is that you have to create engaging content that's going to be fit for your audience. Like nobody wants to see content that is not relevant. That's why
Right.
in that moment, that was years ago. I think it was like 2015 or
It was a
2016.
long time ago.
So that's crazy how long ago it was actually.
Right.
But it was so long ago, but it made her relevant again because she did the same thing that the hotel person he did. So
Yeah, she completely rebranded herself. And I
she
think that was
did,
kind
yeah,
of the start of it. 'Cause she was
yeah,
known as someone who was kind of uptight and very
yeah,
type A, I would say. And then she did that, and then
yeah.
she did some stuff with Snoop Dogg, and now she's more
Her and Snoop
relaxed
became,
and fun.
but
And
funny enough though. So I always wondered, like, how the hell does Martha Stewart know Snoop? And
it's my
I was,
favorite best friend
I know,
duo.
I always like try to figure out like what that was. But on the documentary, it happened because she was sitting next to him for the roast of Justin Bieber, and she said
Oh,
by the time it was over, she's like they were on stage for 7 hours.
oh my
By the
gosh.
time it was over, he smoked like 4 or 5 blunts, and she was so high, just because she was sitting next to him.
No
Swear, she's like
way.
I was so high, I was
That's
next to
so
him.
funny,
It was
actually.
crazy, and he hit her up and was like, I think we should collaborate, and they became like really good friends.
Yeah.
Anyway, fast forward, that's what you have to do. He did something different. He, being a legendary rapper,
Yeah.
started working with an older white woman,
Hmm.
and the vice versa on their sides. And the collaboration between the both of them blew up everywhere. Like
Yeah.
everything they do together always winds up doing well, but they're both doing a different range of what they're normally used to, right?
Hmm.
So again, Snoop is now getting an audience of her followers, and vice versa,
Right.
which they both wouldn't have been exposed to.
No.
But we have to wrap up here. Happy Monday, guys. Again, even though tomorrow is election day and we figure out, what's going to happen within the next couple of days, with the state of who is going to be in the White House, this is the biggest thing that matters is this: what you do with your business, with your career, and that's all you can control, right? And a lot of time we focus on things that like are out of our hands or out of our control, and we need to focus on what we can control, right? So our business, what we're doing, how we position ourselves, those are the things that matter. Focus on you. We have a new year about to start. It's already Christmas decorating time. I don't care what nobody says. I'm getting ready this
I
week to
agree.
start decorating ASAP.
Yeah.
I'm going all
It's
in on it.
peppermint mocha season. I got my first
100%.
peppermint mocha of the season.
Yeah, actually delicious that out there.
Yes.
That
You would
looks
like it.
delicious. Yeah, I
You
probably
like
would.
it. Yeah.
But happy Monday, guys. Get after it. And I hope you're prepping for the new year ahead.